Get ready to get inspired. This is the Go for the Goldie podcast.
Hello, welcome to another week here. It's Monday, August 10th, 2020. It's a new week. I got a new microphone. And we have got another inspiring athlete joining me today, Kim Tomasik, the 2017 Buffalo Runner of the Year, joining us from Buffalo, New York. Kim, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. As best as you can for a Monday, you know?
Yeah.
So Kim, we've known each other for a bit. I remember one of my first races I went to, I saw you, and I've never told you this.
Really?
I never told you this. So you actually served as an inspiration for me, because I always saw runners as like, you know, tall, lanky. If you weren't that, you weren't going to be a good runner. And I saw you crush the race that I was at, and I was like, holy cow, this girl is incredible, and like, she's not tall. I can do this. You know what I mean? So I never told you that, but yes, you served as a big inspiration for me. So I'm very honored that you decided that to come on the podcast. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. So I think right off the bat, 2017 Buffalo Runner of the Year. That is one hell of an accomplishment. For those of you who don't know, I want to kind of dive into that right off the bat, because I just want to like kind of set the tone as to what exactly that entails, you know, doing that. So if you could just kind of maybe explain in a little bit more detail what that means.
Yeah, so the Buffalo News every year puts on a series of races that you can enter, and by how you place, the top 10 male and female get a certain amount of points. So the higher you place, the more points you get. And then at the end of the year, and there's an online website that tallies up how many points you've scored in the series of races. And whoever has the most points, male and female, is deemed like the Buffalo News Runner of the Year. And these races stem from like a 1 mile race to a half marathon. And there's a 10K and an 8K and 5Ks all in there. So you have to show up and pretty much be able to do well at every distance. So I didn't do all the races in the series, but I did enough and placed well enough to earn the most amount of points by a landslide. So half of it's like just being consistent, and the other half is performing well. And I don't know if I want to do that again. It was very exhausting.
It's one of those that you did it, time to move on, time to conquer the next mountain, right?
Races started in, I think, March until the Turkey Trot in November. So you had to be fit for most of the year. And I will even say like those even weren't my fastest times compared to how I am now, but that was quite an accomplishment because of how much effort it took.
And that's, you know, I think with me moving away, I think I took for granted when I lived in Buffalo how tight and how many opportunities there are, like the running community is in Buffalo. I mean, you're talking 3-4 races a weekend if you're really looking for them, you know, throughout the entire year. I mean, you're talking December, January, February. There's races every weekend, even during the winter months, you know. And I guess the idea that Buffalo, you know, Runner of the Year is to kind of show versatility in running. You know, it's not the Buffalo 1 miler of the year. It's not the Buffalo 5K of the year. It's to show that you can compete at a high level at the 1 mile all the way up to the half marathon and everything in between. Is that kind of the idea of it?
Yeah, definitely.
That's cool.
I'd say so.
That's really cool that you did that. And what I'll do is, I know you sent me the picture. Do you have like, if you could maybe dig up a post or something like that, I can maybe link to your social media, like that specific post, you know what I mean? So people can check it out and see what that looks like. 'Cause
I definitely can search. I know there was an article in the Buffalo News that I actually might still have that like my grandpa sent me and saved of my picture in the Buffalo News. So I'll definitely dig that up for you.
Yeah, that would be great, because I don't know if you've seen, but what I like to do is, obviously we've talked about the idea of this show and, what the purpose is to kind of serve as an inspiration for people. So I put in the show notes after the show, different links to your social media channels, or if you wanted to get involved in, different kinds of like USA, like track and field, to see what events there are across the country. And So kind of serve as a central focal point and for inspiration. So I'll link all your social media accounts and everything once we're done here, and they can see all your badass stuff that you've done. It's awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So I think something cool I want to talk about. There's the Buffalo Corporate Challenge, and well, I mean it's the Corporate Challenge. It's this race that is done throughout the entire world. I mean it's a really huge race, and it's a tour that goes all over the place, and it's the corporations, they join it, and you kind of it's a big day in Buffalo, and I'm sure it is that way all across it, every stop on the tour that it goes to. But how many people are in the Buffalo one?
Oh gosh, like 10,000 people.
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge,
so.
and that's huge for Buffalo,
Yeah.
especially. Um,
Yeah.
and that actually that was the first race that I ever did, and I hated it, and I hated running, and I got done with that. But then I kind of started to manifest. I was like, I like this idea of challenging myself, and you start. Well, if I didn't have to zigzag as much at the beginning, or maybe if I like trained a little bit, I could get a minute faster, and that slippery slope of like how good you could get, kind of really encouraged me to keep on going and training. So having said all that, 10,000 people, it's a big day in Delaware Park in Buffalo. Talk about the picture that's on the cover of this episode. What is that picture?
So that I believe is the last year I won it in 2019. So that was my second time winning it. And I will have to preface that in 2018, 2019, I ran for Batavia Downs or Western OTB. And I also, a month after these races, won the Genesee County Corporate Challenge 2 years in a row too, called the Glow Corporate Challenge. It's for like Genesee, Livingston, Orleans, and Wyoming County. I also won those, so it was kind of crazy that I won Buffalo and the Glow Corporate Cup 2 years in a row.
Just an absolute beast. Just an
I was
absolute
very
beast.
tired after that.
I love it.
But all my training, I kind of like trained to peak for the Corporate Challenge. It was like a big goal of mine. I've run it, oh my gosh, for many years for all different companies. And I've always placed at least in the top. I think 2 years I placed third female, and I always had the goal of winning. But I knew that I had to really step it up because girls are fast in Buffalo, very, very fast. So it was my goal to win it. And then in 2018, and then when 2019 came around, I got really nervous. So I was like sick to my stomach thinking about trying to defend my title. And a Buffalo news reporter reached out to me to interview me. And he's like, so do you think you can win a second time? You have a target on your back now. And I said, yes, I think I can. And I did. And a funny thing that the article for my 2019 victory pointed out was my husband paced me the whole time. And he finished 1 second ahead of me. And they made sure to point out that my husband beat me.
Oh, come on. Well, sometimes winning that second race is harder than the first because there was no target on your back for that first one. There's a lot of really good competitors, and once you do win it, now it's you're the goal of a lot of girls out there, or guys too. I mean, you're super fast regardless of if you're a boy or a girl. By the way, side note, you're my first girl on the show, so congratulations. I was really excited. Yeah, breaking barriers, baby. I love it.
Awesome.
So you did the corporate challenge. You've won that twice. What's your favorite?
I wanted it this year. I would have won it this year. I'm positive, 100%.
It's so frustrating with all this going on, especially I think as endurance sports are a little bit different in the sense that like if you're a football player, you have seasons. You know what I mean? Like you're in football shape, you're in hockey shape, you're in whatever sport you're playing, but when you alluded to it just a second ago, you train to peak. You know what I mean? It's like kind of a roller coaster in training, and you're really training for a specific day as opposed to, a period of time. So this obviously, this whole situation sucks for everybody. But with endurance sports, it's like there's nothing to train for right now. There's nothing around the corner. So how are you handling that? As for someone who competes at such a high level like you, how are you keeping up with your training, and what's kind of the regimen that you're following right now?
That's a great question, and I kind of have a hot take on that. I love not having races. I absolutely love it. So I'm someone who like gets really worked up for races. I get really nervous, and I've been like that since I was little. Like, just I always get nervous for competition, and I always had like kind of fantasized of a year where I could just train and get stronger rather than having to compromise a plan with the race. So it's kind of been good for me to not have any races. Granted, like I do miss racing just because, now I'm in shape and ready to go.
Mhm.
But this is the first time I followed a consistent plan, like about 90%. And I can never follow a plan 100%. There's always life that happens, but um, I've actually been able to follow a plan and do like time trials like by myself just to set goals. And I've hit times I've never hit before because I've had an uninterrupted training plan.
That's
So that's kind of
amazing.
my like hot take on that.
No, and honestly, I understand where you're coming from on that too, because from my perspective, in this time without races and stuff, I mean, I've gotten into riding my bike on Twitch, and I've like kind of developed this like whole world like virtually that I've met people from around the world, and I would have never been doing this kind of stuff if races were still going on, so I think this has
Yeah.
been kind of a mental break to kind of explore what it is like not having races and not getting out. I'm the same way like you, Kim. I get all freaking jacked up for races. I listen to all these like motivational videos the day of the race, and I'm like on the verge of tears before I'm about to run. And my fiance is like, "You are an absolute lunatic," and I'm like, "Well,
Yeah.
if you're not getting nervous, you're not living." That's the way I see it. Oh,
I
it's
call
like,
it my alter ego. I have a racing ego where like I'm actually not super friendly the day of a race because I'm just like focused and I just want to be like done. So it's like my alter ego race Kim. And then like my post race alter ego is like so much more relaxed. But like my alter ego race Kim basically is like tough and not friendly. And just some people have literally said, Kim, I thought you were mad at me. And it's not personal.
I
It's
love
just what I
that.
have to do.
Just eye the tiger. You're competitive and you want to win, and you're not going to let anything stop you. So what's wrong with that? I love that. I'm the same way. I get all jacked. Definitely. So yeah, you're right. It is nice to have this little break, and I personally, I don't know how you feel about this, but I think there was kind of one of two ways to go. I don't think a lot of people, I don't think anyone's like training as usual. I think people either went one way with it where they're going, hey, I'm going to take this break to just kind of fully recharge. I'm not going to train hard. I'm just going to kind of, I feel like running or swimming or biking or whatever, I'm just going to go out and do that. And then I think there's some people who, kind of like me and you that are like, what, I'm going to use this opportunity to, see what I'm capable of without having races in the way, without having to deal with, these like peaks and valleys and see what I can do. And I think once racing starts to really get back, I think it'll come out in the wash. I think a lot of these people, because training is, something that it's not easy to just jump back into. It's if you're missing an entire season, I think there's going to be a pretty big disparity. I think between some of these athletes. I don't know, what do you think about that? I think about this a lot.
I actually really agree with you like 100%. I definitely have like I was so wishy-washy last year. I'm like, I want to be done competing. I'm done with it. And like on the other hand, I'm like, I just want to go all in, just all in.
It's like
And
the
so
ego and the id or whatever that is. You're getting
yeah,
pulled. Yeah, yeah.
so kind of when I realized I didn't have to commute as much to work, I didn't have to get up as early. I was able to get more miles in before work. I'm just like, well, I might as well take this opportunity to like go after it
Mhm.
and just see what I can do. But definitely when racing starts again, um, I think that the people who rested, I think they might be fine just because their bodies are healed and they might have been doing other things besides how you are a triathlete, so you bike and you swim and you run. I'm a runner, like I don't really bike and swim, but like a lot of people are cross training right now, like biking and lifting more, so they might come back strong as well. So it just depends how you spend your time.
It'll be interesting because this is. I mean, obviously we're not old. I mean, I'm older than you, and I can't remember a time that everything had just shut down completely for basically an entire season. So I know it's
Yeah.
cliche to say we're in unprecedented times, but I mean it really is a weird time to It'll be interesting to see, because you may see new schools of thought come out of this too. You never know. They may be like, hey, why don't you cycle racing seasons too? I don't know. It's because especially with endurance sports, I mean, you could run forever, and a lot of endurance athletes peak in their 30s. So if you got that much time to kind of play with, and if you're really serious about someone like you competing at really high levels and trying to win really big races like you do, you may, I don't know, I'm just kind of talking out of my ass, but you never know. It may be changed forever. We'll see. It'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out.
No, I definitely think that moving forward, people are going to be more considerate of like personal space and like what they're touching and like how many people are in the area together. And it's definitely more things are going to come to light that we probably never thought of before.
Yeah.
I'm on a running club called Checkers, and we have a cross country team, and we don't think obviously we're going to have a cross country season, even though it's not many people who race at one time. But even things like that, just like, and I think about a lot of my friends are coaches at high schools and colleges, and they might not even have a season, which makes it hard to recruit, which is a big part of colleges getting athletes and students is recruiting for sports.
That's interesting. See, I never thought about that aspect of it, but you're right. Yeah, and that's going to have a lot of residual effects too. You're just trying to recruit basically virtually now, right? Is that what they're going to be going?
Yeah, well, there's no races to go to. I coached college for like a year, and you have to go out to races physically and like talk to people and talk to kids, and you have to be there. And if there's no races going on, it's kind of hard to look at people's times from 2 years ago or a year ago, and hopefully they're still in the same shape.
Right. Yeah, that's especially kids that age. It's very easy to get distracted, college age years. So I did want to bring up, so with these podcasts and with these shows, when I talk to athletes, when I reach out to them, a lot of the athletes that I've interviewed so far, I don't really know. Like, I know you, but some other people, like the inline speed skater guy, I met him just through Twitch. He was just like, he hopped on my stream, and he was like, I started inline speed skating at 40 years old, and I'm like, what? I got to talk to you. And then he started telling me about it. I'm like, no. I want to know nothing about you. I want to learn about this, like, on the show, like, genuinely. So with you, when I texted you or messaged you, you started telling me about, like, your PK or your PR that you just did. And I go, nope, don't want to hear it. Don't want to talk about it. So now let's talk about it. So when you said you did a 5K PR, what were you at? And, yeah, I'd love to, hear about that, because you said the time, and my jaw dropped. My jaw hit the floor.
Sure. So so when I met my husband, Zach, we met through a running club in Buffalo. So
shout out to Zach.
Of course. And he really helped me to kind of realize, just because our lifestyles are very similar, running competitively is important to both of us, is very rare. Our lifestyle's weird to like normal people. But he gave me a lot of insight into like weaknesses I had. Like, I wasn't running enough mileage, and even just for 5K training, I wasn't running enough mileage and I wasn't doing enough speed work and hills. So he kind of gave me a lot of insight, and he started coaching me about in the last year. So I have to like preface with that, because that's led to a lot of my success. So I've been kind of like training myself on and off with some coaches, not very consistent. Like for the Buffalo Run of the Year, I tried to be good at every distance, like mile to half marathon, and it's just not doable. So
that's specificity, right? Like that's
yeah. So I picked the mile and the 5K, and like that is all I'm training for a few years. That is it. And so I actually have the book here. I bought this book.
Oh, nice.
And my husband picked the plan that I should follow in here. It's a 5K plan based on 50 plus miles a week running. So
that's a lot of miles for a 5K.
Well, I peak at 70. So and then my down weeks probably like high 50s. So I follow this plan. I did 12 weeks out. So I started this at the beginning of quarantine. And at the end of 12 weeks, you're supposed to do your like a 5K time trial. And that was at the middle of June. So I just picked a day. I was absolutely completely by myself. I actually started to do it and my watch died. So I had to go back home and charge my watch and then restart my time trial, because I'm smart.
And especially with you being like, without any races or anything like that, and as competitive as you are, I bet you got yourself all worked up, like in the zone. You're like, today is my time trial. let's
Yeah,
do this.
no,
And then, oh, that's got to be so painful. I can
it was
only.
terrible. So the plan basically has you start training at your current 5K pace, and then as the weeks progress, you start to do your workouts at your goal 5K pace. And my goal 5K pace at that time was 5:35. And I, by myself, no one there, only me and my watch. I did 3 laps of my neighborhood. I did a 5K in 17:01.
That is ridiculous.
So
And what
I
is that per mile? What does that average out to?
just under 5:35
That
pace.
is insane. That is so fast.
I never thought I could do that. It took me a long time to break 18, and then I never thought I could break 17. So that was amazing, and I thought it was kind of a fluke. I'm like, something must have been wrong. Was my watch wrong?
Too good to be
I
true.
don't know. So 2 weeks later, I did another 5K with my running club, just like maybe like 5 of us, and I ran 17:20. And I didn't feel that good doing it, but it was a really hot day. But it kind of made me realize, like, okay, it wasn't a fluke. I can run like mid to low 17s consistently.
And now think about when you add in, an actual race where you got, you got your laser sharp focus, you're prepared for it. I was going to ask you, so when you chose the the 12-mile plan that you did through the book, was it with the corporate challenge in mind? Because isn't the corporate challenge around, mid when it okay.
You nailed it. I did my time trial the weekend after the corporate challenge would have been.
Gotcha.
100%.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you were primed and ready to go. So did you 12 weeks, what? That's 4 months? No, 3 months. So when you picked the plan, was there in the back of your mind, well, no, what that would have been, so this was like, man, you started training for it like right when all this went down, huh?
Exactly.
Oh, that sucked. Because I
it's
I work for the Major League Soccer team down here, and I remember being at the game. We had a game March 7th, and then I remember that Wednesday the NBA went down. Like they were the first ones to go down, and then as soon as we saw that, we were like, "Oh no!" And then because at that point it didn't seem like, I don't know, it seemed surreal. It seemed like it was going to be like, no way August 10th would be sitting here still with no end in sight. No way was that even going to cross my mind. It's like maybe a month, if that, or a couple weeks. But and so you're like, this is the year. I'm gonna go for 3. I'm gonna crank it out. I'm gonna get a PR, and then it sucks. Wow, I'm sorry to hear that, because that's when you put in that much effort and see the results. That's a frustrating thing. But you can do it. So look at the bright side, right?
Yeah, I'm just kind of doing this for myself. I don't need like validation from other people to like make me feel good about my accomplishment.
Mhm.
So I just kind of did it for myself and my own like mental confidence. I also did a mile time trial on Saturday. So I've also been in the middle of this like kind of training for a mile. And my goal is to break 5 minutes, and I ran 5:01 on Saturday, just this past Saturday.
So crazy. Nice job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I also did that with my club. It's a lot easier to do it with people, especially a mile. It's really hard to go all out for a mile by yourself.
Yeah, that's where whenever I'm following a training plan, I think that's where I struggle the most, is when you have to do like a time trial test, to gauge. Same concept that you're talking about with a bike. With the bike, when you do an FTP test, it's like usually it's like 40 minutes. You're trying to find, like, it's all based on wattage instead of speed. So you're trying to find the output that you can sustain for 40 minutes at the highest possible output, so you're not like crashing. Do you know what I mean? And for me to just do it on my bike in my room, it's like I can't. You know what I mean? It's hard to dig deep when you're not racing someone, or when you're not, in the thick of it. So I always struggle with that kind of stuff. I was going to ask you so let's kind of, I'd like to shift. We're talking about your training, what it's been like, the past 12 weeks for you. How about leading up to, kind of where you are as a runner, overall? Did you run in college? Did you run? I know you did. I mean, you were in college, or you competed in college, and you're from Lakeview, right?
Oh, yes. I went to Lakeshore High School.
Lakeshore. That's okay. Yeah. So let's start there. Let's start, high school. Did you play any other sports, or did you even run in high school? Or
Yeah,
let's hear about what made Kim. Let's hear about Kim Vona before she was Tomasik.
sure. Sounds good. Yeah. So, um, my family's just athletic in general. But no one runs. They're all golfers, baseball, basketball, all things I'm not good at. I'm not good at things that require objects. So I tried to play softball and they threw me in left field so I could just chase the balls. I could get on base if I hit it. Like I wasn't good at anything else, to be completely honest.
You got the
in, like,
speed, so that works out for
in
you.
elementary school and like the pacer run when you would like go from like there's
Yep.
a beep and you had to get to the other side.
I remember that. Yep.
I beat the last one. I beat out all the boys. So I always knew I could run. And then I did modified track. I bumped up to like JV and varsity early. But I ran in high school and I was like good relatively, but I wasn't serious about it. Like a bunch of us for cross country in high school, we'd run to my house and like sit there and then run back and say we did like 5 miles and we didn't. Like I just really wasn't into it.
I hope your coach isn't listening right now.
Yeah, he probably knew. I could have been so much better in high school. But like granted, like I still went to states in high school for the 3,000 meters and for cross country twice. One of my best friends, Mikkel, she actually ended up running for my rival college. Me and her together in a high school were like the duo who we pushed each other, but we definitely were lax with it, which I think might have been a good thing because I didn't burn out for college then. So I didn't even want to run in college. I was kind of over it. It's very stressful I did indoor, outdoor, and cross country. So it was every season I had something that was, very cardio based.
It's a lot. And it's the kind of the ancillary effects of that too. It's this early Saturday morning workouts. It's Friday night, all your friends are going out and you got to stay in. It's like a lot of that stuff too as a kid, that you
sacrifice.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
My high school prom, the day of prom, I had sectionals. Then I went to prom. Then I had to go back to sectionals the next day to run the 4x800 meter relay.
Wow, that's some dedication right there. That's impressive.
It's just what we did.
Yeah.
Then I ran. I got a scholarship for cross country to Niagara University at their Division I in the MAC conference, the MAAC.
And you?
And
for Believers.
For Believers. And there, I was a top girl for all 4 years, and I broke the 6K record, I think my junior year.
Wow.
So yeah, I still have that. I checked.
Congrats. That's awesome. That's really cool.
So, that was really, and it's cross country. Cross country is so much harder than road racing.
Oh,
it's so hard. So I ran for 4 years. I had a different coach every year, and granted, every coach was unique and very good. Just not having consistent coaching, I kind of plateaued. When I was a senior, I was very burned out. And during my master's degree year, I didn't really race or run that much, just because I needed a break. And then the year after my master's, I met Zach and kind of got reinvigorated with running again, after years of competitiveness, being nervous for races, having that high and low. Running is so heartbreaking. You'll have an amazing race and have a terrible race, and I was just kind of over it. And when I met Zach, he kind of reinvigorated me. He was my running partner. I trained by myself for years. I still train by myself like 80% of the time, but it was just a nice change. So he got me running, honestly, just like more mileage. And then my time started to drop and I got like motivated. You know how you have like a really good workout and you have a good race, you get motivated again.
You start asking, what if, I can get better. I'm still getting better. So let's go. I get that for sure. Yeah.
So post high school and college, I'm way faster now, like so much faster now. And I think it's somewhat to do with probably less stress and somewhat to do with I'm doing it because I want to, not because I signed a contract and have to do it. But yeah, and I met some of my best friends through cross country and running. My 2 best friends, Allie and Beth, shout out. I met through running post college. And so yeah, I think sports are like a great way to meet people. And the running community, as you mentioned earlier, it's like not a cult, but it's very niche. And we're like in our own world. And when we're together, we think everyone else thinks what we do is normal, but it's not. It's just kind of funny.
And that's the thing. I honestly, what drew me, I mean, you know my story, and I've said it a million times, so I know it's obnoxious, but but you alluded to it. That sense of, that feeling that you get on race day or before a competition or before even just like a really hard workout with friends. I don't think a lot of people. I think maybe not a lot. I think too little people experience that. I think there's too many people that are craving that. They want to feel, because they did it in high school or maybe college, and they don't even know the opportunities that exist outside of, after college. Because I was talking to a guy I interviewed, Naquan Chia. He was in the Olympics twice, and at the age of 25, he's just like, same thing with you, Kim. He got burned out. He's like, I just fell out of love with the sport. Well, he gained 60 pounds. He wound up, falling into this like pretty deep depression, and when he was like 31, he was like almost suicidal, and he's talking to his doctor, and his doctor's like, I gotta put you on all these meds, and he's like, I'm definitely not doing that. And then, it was kind of like a wake-up call for him it was a wake-up call to be like, I can't continue to live like this, because he went through a divorce too, and he had a kid. And I guess what I'm getting at though is like what you were mentioning, that sense of community. It's not only about the sport. I mean, you don't even have to be. It's anyone. Running is just one of the most simplest. You need a pair of shoes. That's it. And you just walk out your front door and just start running around. Even if it's a mile, just do it. It makes you feel so much better. And you meet so many cool people in the community at the different races. And like you said, a couple of your best friends that you met through the sport. And I just think the opportunity exists, especially in running. There's no barrier to entry. You just go online, you find a race, and you pay $20. Oh, boom, you're at a 5K. And then you go down the rabbit hole. I think that's when you really start to experience that. Oh, there's more of these. These people are cool. And I don't know. What do you think about that? Because that's the way I saw the community when I was opened up. When I kind of was, that corporate challenge. I was just like, whoa, these people are pretty cool. This is fun.
I have a couple opinions. So first off, I will say there's one year I did like 40 races in a year. I'm not kidding you. I did 40 races in a year. And that's the year I burned out like hard. Yeah. I think that might have been the year I did Buffalo Run of the Year, just because I was just doing so many races, because you get kind of egged on by people, like just show up, and like there's a lot of 5Ks I could just not really try but win. Mm-hmm. And that feeling of winning is like addicting. Mm-hmm. And I just burned out so hard. Honestly, I think I was burned out for the past 3 years, honestly, from this time.
There's a good reset this year.
Yeah. So there's sometimes, I will say this, like racing is a great way to like be social and like meet people. But if you have goals and you want to specifically train for a race, or you specifically want to train for a time, you have to have some self-control. You have to follow a plan, and you have to stick to the plan, and you can't throw in a race that's not meant to be there.
As tempting as it may be.
Yeah, like so many people ask me for running advice, and I'm like, oh, like what plan are you following? Or they'll be upset after they do a 5K and their time was bad. And I say, well, what did you do to prepare for this? They're like, oh, I did a race last weekend. I did a race yesterday, and there's no plan. So that's just where I'm very like, I like people who just want to race to have fun. I do whatever you want. I don't care. But if you're going to ask me for advice on like how to get a time, I'm going to tell you to stop racing so much and just have a plan.
That was a hard thing for me to understand when I started really understanding, the idea and theories behind training and getting better. Like the kind of sometimes the less is more concept, or the slow down to speed up kind of thing. Like I was, for a while, every time I train or go out and run, I mean, I was just kind of haphazardly just running around, and I was going as hard as I could every day. And I experienced that burnout, and that sucks. It's frustrating because you think in your mind you're putting in all this training, but it's just, you're just throwing darts at a wall blindfolded. There's really no rhyme or reason to what you're doing. And following.
I did that for so long.
Yeah. And it seems like
I thought I knew what I was doing.
That's exactly. You think you're like, man, if I just go really hard every day and I'm just going to get better. And that's just not how it works. know, and you got to be like that. So could you do me a favor? Can you hold that book up again? Because if you're following this book, I
It
think
might be backwards for you, but it's Road Racing for Serious Runners.
No, it's the right way. It looks good. It looks at Racing for Serious Runners. Where did you get it?
I got it on Amazon for super cheap, and it's by Pete Fitzinger. And they have a bunch of plans, I think, for like 5K to marathon.
Okay.
I don't do marathon, but 5K and 8 and 10K, I would look into this for. My 5K plan is on this bookmark page, like over here, right here. And
there it is.
Basically, I try to follow that almost too much of a T as possible. Like I said, life happens. Sometimes it's too humid out. I'll like switch up a workout a little bit, but still try to get the benefit. But yeah, this has really helped me a lot. I will also say, Brian, you nailed it, where you can't go hard every day. And this is my advice. Like, it's so funny. People ask me for advice all the time, but they don't listen to me. So this is like my time to like say my advice.
Get on your soapbox, girl. Let's go.
So like if you're like doing like a weekly plan, like a weekly formula to train is literally one long run, which is about, I mean, everyone's got their own opinion, but I think it's about like maybe 10 to 20% depending.
Kim, hold on. Everyone grab a pen and paper right now and write this down, because you are listening to a guru right now. Okay.
I'm not a guru. This is from my experience and from like reading a lot of things. Like one long run that's longer than your base run. Go for mileage or time, whatever you're used to. 1 day a week is speed work. Now by speed work, I mean like mile pace, like sprints, like 100s and 200s, 1 day a week. And then your second workout out of the week, you're going to alternate between lactate threshold and VO2 max. So lactate threshold is not like a comfortable pace. It's like hard comfortable. It's about your half marathon pace. So if I'm training for like a 5:35K, I'm going to say my half marathon pace is about 6:10, 6:15, maybe. So that's my lactate threshold pace. I'll do like a 4-mile, 3-mile lactate threshold run, or a VO2 max workout, which is more to my 3K, 5K pace. So I'll do like 1,000 meter repeats at 5:30 to 5:25. So 1 day a week sprints, 1 day a week VO2 max or lactate threshold, one long run, the rest easy. 1 day off if you need it. Otherwise, you're running like a minute to a minute and a half slower than you would normally.
A lot of it is like, I was talking to, I don't know if you saw, I talked to a gentleman who's an elite stair runner. And
I saw that. I'm obsessed.
It's crazy, right? I thought that was the coolest thing. When I stumbled on his profile, I'm like, wait a minute, this is a thing? I got to talk to this guy. I mean, I've been following him for years. But anyways, one of the things that he was talking about was, even though his races are only, like a long race for him, he ran up the Empire State Building in 13 minutes, which is insane. Right? But what he was saying is he does a lot of slow, monotonous running as well to build that base. It's like the foundation of the pyramid. It's like you can do all that sprint work that you want, but without that foundation, that's not going to get you anywhere. It's like building a house. I think the analogy he used was building a house on sand. You know what I mean? You need a hard foundation of concrete before you can build a house. Otherwise, that house is just going to collapse in on itself if you're just doing speed work all the time. So,
yeah, I can't even emphasize that enough. So like I was saying, like my husband really helped me. I used to go hard every day because of like Strava and social media.
There's a lot of pressure. There's definitely a lot of pressure when you see. Yeah.
And I just want to be like, well, they can't know I run slow. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know why I care why anyone thought, but Zach and I will run like honestly 9-minute pace, 8-minute and 30-second pace, just easy mileage. And I do a lot of double runs, like morning, evening. Okay. Just to get more mileage in on my peak weeks, like the 70-mile weeks. But yeah, so, and I also have not been injured in probably like 5 years.
Oh my God, knock on wood. What are you doing saying that out loud? Come on now.
No aches, no pains. I just like stretch and roll out like consistently, and I recover well.
I got to get better at that. I suck at recovering. That's a problem.
Like, knock on wood.
Yeah.
But
So that's the thing that's the challenge I run into, quite literally running into in Texas is for some reason it's hotter here at like 5 p.m. than like noon.
Oh my
So
gosh.
like right now it's 100 degrees. Yesterday. So this is something that I have kind of enjoyed in this off season too. Quote unquote off season that no
Yeah.
races or anything. Sometimes I will just go. You know what? I'm gonna do something crazy today, and I'll just go up because I'm following like generally following a plan. But the same thing with you. It's like if I want to deviate, I can because I don't have any huge races coming up. There's nothing,
Exactly.
So if I want to do something crazy, I just adjust my schedule. So yesterday it was noon and I'm like, it was 95 degrees and I'm like, I'm gonna see if I can do a half marathon. I'm like, I'm not gonna go fast. I'm just gonna
Oh,
go.
I saw
Yeah, I
that.
was like, I did eight. It was like a 7:50. It was an 8 minute mile pace. Nothing fast, but my God, it was hot. But if I did like something like you're talking about doing the morning and night, if I'm going out at 5, like if I went out right now at 6:30, it's 100 degrees right now and
Oh my gosh.
it's like dangerous to be doing sprints. So
Oh
my
yeah, no,
question is, do
sure.
you ever consider, I know there's very polarizing topic of conversation with runners, do you ever use a treadmill in any of your training?
I love treadmills.
Okay, see, I do too. I love treadmills,
I
but
do.
some people are like, screw treadmills. I never do it. That's not running. Blah, blah, blah. So I had
Yeah.
to ask you.
No,
So yeah,
I
yeah.
love treadmills. Yeah. No, I there's nothing I like hate. I love everything. I have a spin bike in my basement too. Just because obviously, like used to take my spin classes.
Yeah. Oh
Um,
yeah.
I love spinning and I love treadmills. I think treadmills are a great way to like safely get mileage in. You can do workouts on them. I do think treadmills are boring. Like my husband's like an ultra runner, so he's used to doing boring things for a very long time.
And for people listening
I
who don't know what an ultra run is,
Okay.
yeah, fill people in on what an ultra runner means.
Um, it's a race that's over a marathon. So my husband has done 50Ks, which is like 31 miles and some change, and then like 50 miles. And then I have runners in my running club who are amazing, who do like 100-mile races. Like it's crazy, but it's a thing.
That's
And
insane.
it's just a different kind of athlete. I don't do that. I do 5Ks.
You ever seen
But
I know Jeff Adams. I don't know if you know Jeff
yeah,
Adams. Yeah, he's
I
a
was
big ultra
actually
runner.
referencing him. I was referencing him.
There you go. See? There you go. We said it without saying it. What's up, Jeff? I know
No,
he's not
he's
listening, but whatever.
absolutely incredible, and his girlfriend Maura is amazing too. They're great. I just saw them on
That's
Saturday.
so cool. See, the Buffalo running community, the strikes again. It's so small. Everyone knows each other.
Yeah,
No, have
definitely.
you ever run into? Do you know who Patrick Cutter is? Have you seen him?
Mm-mm.
He's a good follow. He's going to be on the show. We're actually setting up a day within the next week or two. Um, so there's a couple like my inspiration I drew from running people like you and Patrick are like two of the runners that stick out in my mind as when I was getting started running as inspiration. This Patrick Cutter guy, he's like this. He's pretty jacked. Like he doesn't look like a runner at all. He looks like he could strap it on and go play in the NFL right now. And
Wow,
he runs like 240 marathons. So
that's really good.
yeah, he's a
That's
beast.
really
He's an
good.
absolute beast. And for a while, he was working for Wegmans like overnights. And what he was doing was just work. He'd work overnight and run. It's basically all he was doing. And kind of the run slow to get faster thing is really something he harps on because when you said it's kind of like a prideful thing when you want to put your runs on Strava and be like, oh my god, everyone's gonna know I'm running slow. I don't like it's such a dumb way to think, but it's true. You think that way sometimes. But when I was seeing him post, I'm running 8:30 miles today, and he's running a 240 marathon. You draw inspiration from people like that are smart about it. That have careers that are, you know, not professional, but you know what I'm saying. Like you see people who are doing
Yeah,
it the right way, that are smart. So that kind of leads me to my
yeah,
next question is, with you kind of mentioned before, you're doing, kind of sometimes you're doing 2 days during your peak weeks, and you're getting able to do longer runs in before work. What do you do for a living?
yeah. So I work for full time. I work for a tech startup in Buffalo that was founded by a graduate of Niagara University. So we design. We're a design led engineering firm where I'm on the design team. I'll design screens for apps and websites, and we have a development team that codes them for large companies. So I do that full time. And then I also have my own like freelancing company where I consult small businesses on Facebook ads and Facebook marketing. So I do that. I have a full-time job, then I have like my freelancing gig, and then I train. That's honestly all I do. I am very lucky that I have a husband.
That's all you do. Like, that's nothing.
Also does that, or else this would not be realistic. But like, it's 100% a lifestyle.
Yep. Well, and that's but that's kind of what I wanted. Sure, I could have a podcast or a show where I talk to professional athletes, and then you hear people, well, of course they can do it because that's all they do. Well, that's why, like, I'm kind of, this niche is what I'm trying to fill, is I'm trying to serve as an inspiration to show what people are capable of at the highest levels of their amateur sports while still having to, keep the lights on, food in the fridge, that kind of stuff, So it's possible. If you have basically 2 jobs and you're able to accomplish what you're doing, I mean, what's stopping someone from, working a day and then saying they don't have time? Well, nothing. How long does a mile take to run? Even if you walk it 20 minutes, 25 minutes, you're telling me you don't have time? I always used to, when I was a trainer at Planet Fitness, and I always used to tell people, they would say, time's an issue. And I'd say, no problem, I definitely, and when they said that, I wouldn't make it obvious. I'd, kind of keep that idea in the back of my head. And then later in the conversation, I'd always say, so what's your favorite TV show? And right off the bat, they'd say something. I go, so you have time. You're just choosing to watch TV. But you have the time. Like, you could just wake up a half hour earlier. Boom, you're good. Or, just record the show and watch it when you're going to bed. You know what I mean? Like, you make time for what you need to make time for. And for me, I always, I hearken back to when I got the bug. And I think there's so many competitive people out there that want to compete and may not even know that communities like this exist, or they have these opportunities to channel their competitive, the competitiveness within them and get it out. And I mean, in Buffalo, like I said, but I'm sure like many places all over the country. I mean, there's races. Dallas is huge. There's stuff going on all the time here. And I think you just, like in Buffalo, it's buffalorunners.com. That's like the central location to find, a race. But of any, like, are there any national, like, racing organizations that off the top of your head you could suggest, or anything like that, where people could use that as a resource to kind of get started?
Sure. So the USTAF definitely is a resource to like find races. I'm part of the USTAF Niagara as a part of my running club's cross country team. So through that, there's like series of races that are like unique that wouldn't be on buffalorunners.com. So you can find like your like USATF branch, or like I know there's like triathlon branches.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not as familiar with that, but like you can find like your local branch of something, and then like through that you can find different competitive races or like competitions.
So if you could do me a favor, shoot me that link when we're done here, and then I'll post that in the show notes. So regardless of where you are in the United States, there's something near you. That's a guarantee. Yeah. There's always going to be something. Well, not right now, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Even like there's just like I can't think of off the top of my head right now, but me and my husband went to Washington State last October to visit a family friend, and we just look like everywhere we go, we just like races near us.
I do the same thing.
There's a bunch of like racing websites that just list everything local. And we ran a local 5K and 10K, and we both won.
That's amazing. Who are these jerks from Buffalo coming into our town and taking over?
When I went to New Mexico too, I broke like a streak of this girl winning this trail race in New Mexico.
That's
and I'm
amazing.
From Buffalo.
That is absolutely. I love that. I went to, and I'm not obviously as fast as you. When I went to Pittsburgh though, when I was playing semi-pro football, we had a game that Saturday night, and then I ran a trail race that Sunday morning. My fiance was like, "You got to stop, like relax." I'm like, "I can't. I don't know how to."
No, it's just ingrained in us.
You would have loved. There is, so I work for FC Dallas, the Major League Soccer team down here, and what was really cool, and they do for the Dallas Marathon, because it's so hot here. It's in December, so what we do is they have we compete, all the professional sports teams race each other at the Dallas Marathon. And what they do is they have, this was 2018 that I did it. Hoka was a sponsor, and what they do is they provide runners for I think it's a five legs. So it's a 4-person team, and then that Hoka runner's the 5th person, and they basically run like the first mile or two together, and then they hand the baton off to the athletes from the different sports organizations. So, me being competitive and a runner, I kind of put the team together for FC Dallas, and it was so cool because you get the VIP at the event at the Dallas Marathon. So you get 2 guest passes, and it's unlimited booze and food in the tent before and after the race. And it was cool because we got to race the Cowboys, the Mavericks, the Rangers, and then and the Stars. So it was cool to get bragging rights because, being from Buffalo, we're not the biggest Cowboys fans, and they DNF'd, so it was great to see that. I was really happy that we got to beat them. The Mavericks, there was a guy who ran 5:10 average for 6 miles, and there was just no coming back from that guy. But we came in second place. I ran anchor, and I beat the guy from the Rangers, so to get second place. So that was pretty cool. It was a cool experience.
Wow.
But it'd be cool if they did something in Buffalo like that. The Bills, the Bisons, the Sabres. It'd be kind of cool. So let me ask you this: what's your favorite brand of shoe that you run in?
Oh,
you have one?
I do.
Okay.
So, it's kind of not the most popular brand, but it's called Ultra. Altra.
Oh yeah, very familiar. The flat, 0 drop, right? Yeah.
Yes, it's 0 drop. It's shaped like a foot, kind of wider feet. So I actually did my mile time trial in my Ultra trainers on Saturday. I love them. I used to race in my Ultra, a really old version of the Ultra ones for years.
I love is it the Escalante?
Yes, I love the Escalante as a trainer.
Those are very comfortable.
Yeah, so I like Ultra, and I like Saucony. It's another wide, toe box.
Mm-hmm.
Very comfortable. So those are my 2 go-to brands.
The Saucony Ride, that's a super, super popular shoe.
Yeah, I like the Kinvara.
Mm-hmm. That's the lighter one. Yeah.
Yep, I like the lighter trainers. I like very minimalist shoes to run in. I also I don't hate Nike, but this is kind of a hot topic, and I wasn't sure I was going to bring it up, but I do like the Vaporfly.
Okay, I haven't tried it out. What do you think? So do you own a pair?
Yes, I do. My husband got a pair for me. I was very, very against getting them. I'm I don't need the shoe. I don't need it. It's a trend. I don't need it. But then my husband got me a pair, and I ran a PR, and then in last year, my PR of 2019 was in them. You just feel, what I like about them, I will say, a lot of people say this too, I've had bad races in them, and you do have to do the work. You can't just throw them on and be I'm a minute faster now. You still have to train hard.
Oh yeah.
But I threw them on, and it just everything felt more efficient, and then the next day I wasn't as dead. I will say that the recovery after a competition in them is better.
Interesting.
I didn't feel as trashed.
Yeah, that drove me nuts when I'm embarrassed. I don't know the name. Who's the guy who was attempting to break the 3-mile or the 3-hour marathon?
The 3-hour marathon. I think it's Kipchoge.
Yes, yeah, Kip. So when you saw people yeah, but he had the shoes. Screw you. Try running a marathon in under 3 hours. You know what I mean? Try doing it in under 4 hours.
Well,
I'm sorry, not 3 hours, 2 hours. I'm sorry. He was trying to break 2 hours. Yeah.
Yeah, it's under 2 hours. So the point of that exercise, though, was to make perfect conditions.
Yeah, because they had the pace car, right? And then they had, but still, holy cow. I did, so one of the guys that I had on here, that rollerblader I was telling you about, I think I'm going to get into this. They have half and full marathon skating competitions.
Wow.
I think that's pretty cool. Yeah, so he, obviously being from Buffalo, everyone's got rollerblades, so I talked to the guy, and then the next day, I'm I'm going to see what it's like to roller skate a marathon. So I did 26 miles in my rollerblades the next day.
You did?
I did. And
wow.
I did it in 2 hours and 12 minutes. And I'm like,
That's
holy cow,
amazing.
that guy would have beat me just running. Like Kip would have beat me running.
Oh yeah.
And because as I'm skating, I'm like, this is incredible that people actually run this fast. That is nuts.
Or 26.2 miles.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my God, that's nuts. Because I guess in the roller skating world, because believe me, when you say you're competitive, obviously, you know, I am too. I look up the best times, and like some of the guys
yeah.
that and gals that are up there that are doing it the best, they're around like an hour and a half on roller skates doing the 26 miles.
That's
Um,
amazing.
they have some big
I
races around the world, so I think that's another thing I'm going to start to get into. It's pretty cool.
totally.
Yeah, I'm excited
How
about doing
cool.
that. Yeah, I thought that was pretty neat.
I
But
will say, like, I like rollerblading. I don't know how to stop.
I don't have stoppers on them. Like I kind of
Very
just like
lucky.
hockey stop, you know. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, stopping's kind of important on roller skates. I would
Going
say,
downhill
yeah,
scares me.
yeah. Well, not being able to stop, yes, I would say that is pretty
Yeah.
terrifying. Yes. Um,
Um,
what I was gonna say though, going back to like talking about the shoes, for people
sure.
that are listening that maybe have ran in the past or want to get into it, shoe technology is just absolutely incredible. What they're able to pinpoint as far as like your gait and all the technology that goes into the shoes. So if you are thinking about getting into running, what I would suggest is um,
Running store.
go to your local running store and
Yeah.
get fit, because there's stability versus neutral, and there's a whole spectrum of cushioning, low to high, and like Kim, you were talking about toe box, comfortability and all that stuff. And you know don't go to an outlet. And one of the worst things that you could possibly do is going to an outlet, buying a $40 pair of shoes, running in the wrong kind of shoes, and then you hurt yourself and you're not getting the right support that you need. You may be in the wrong one, and then just saying, running's not for me. And it's a shame, because I've seen that happen, and it sucks because you take the step to get, going, and then, you put yourself in an impossible situation where you're not going to succeed. But I don't know. How do you feel about that? Would you agree with that?
I agree. I live in Orchard Park, so right down the road, I have Runner's Roost,
Mm-hmm.
and Runner's Roost is just fantastic. It's now owned by the woman who recruited me to my coach at Niagara, who recruited me to run there. Her family owns it now,
Nice.
and yes, and I tell you, the people who work there just can like look at your feet and make recommendations, and they let you like try out the shoes. Like, granted, you have to try them out and not get them wrecked,
Mhm.
but you can return them if you don't like them. But Runner's Roost and then Fleet Feet in Buffalo, they do really, really good job.
Yep. I actually, I worked at Fleet Feet, so shout out to Fleet
Yeah,
Feet. They
yeah.
actually just opened one up down the road here in Dallas, in Plano. So I haven't had a
Yeah.
chance to get over there yet, but yeah, Fleet Feet is what I have experience with. But also Runner's Roost, I've been there too, and Run On is a big one down here in Dallas.
Yes, Run On.
Yeah. But yeah, if you were thinking about getting into it, definitely go get fit for shoes, because that really will make. And I'm speaking from personal experience. When I was getting into running, I was wearing crap on my feet too. I didn't really understand the importance of it. And even like I wear arch supports, that made a big difference for me as well, just keeping everything in alignment. So yeah, go get that checked out. It's definitely a really important step to take if you're thinking about getting into running for any period of time. So
I agree.
yeah, and
I'm not-
I got no dog in the fight. I mean, I'm not like, trying to sell you anything. I'm truly just
Yeah.
saying, go do that. Go do that.
Same here. No, I'm just promoting my local stores because they're great and they've
Yeah.
helped me a lot.
Oh, for sure. Both of those, Runner's Roost and Fleet Feet, are great.
Amazing. I will say too, I also recommend that you replace your shoes, or you get two pairs of shoes at one time to alternate mileage in.
Great advice. Yep.
Yeah, I have at least two or three pairs that I'll run in alternate days. Like, I have a workout shoe that I do my workouts in. I have an easy run shoe and like a long run shoe. Like, I know that's a little excessive, but at least like two shoes you can switch between, and then replace them. Like, I've gotten different mileage out of different shoes. Like, my ultras technically don't tend to last me that long, but when my knees start to hurt or something feels off and it's been a while, like, I gauge it by like 300-ish miles or so, depending, plus or minus for some people, is when you should get a new pair.
And a lot of it has to do with your body type too. If like
Exactly.
you're, a bigger, taller guy, where there's a lot of force coming down with every step, you're going to need to replace it a little bit more than, someone like you who's a lot, shorter and lighter. You can maybe get a little bit more mileage out of it.
I will say it made me so happy when you said that. I inspired you because like I was short and I could run, because for so long I like hated myself for like not being tall. Like it took me so long to like accept my body, I guess. Like I know a lot of female runners go through issues with like, they see professional runners and they have 0% body fat, they're tall, they're lanky. I'm shorter, I have muscle, and I'm not lanky. So I have a short torso, I look more compact. So like that made me really happy because even my neighbor next door didn't know I was a good runner. Like, but by good, I mean like within Buffalo.
No,
Um,
17-minute 5K and winning a 10,000 person race is good anywhere. So yeah.
Thank you. Well, she's
Yeah.
like, but she's not tall. Like, how is Kim a good runner? She's not tall. And I get that comment a lot. And, when I started out, before I graduated college to go into, or before I graduated high school to go into college, I had really bad eating disorder because I tried to get like skinny to look like those girls. And it ended up just being bad and not maintainable.
Well, I
So
tell you, Kim, I'm honest. I really am telling you the truth when I say that. It's why you and that Patrick Cutter. I mean, the both of you were very, because same thing on my end. I mean, people say that guys don't deal with body issues as much as women, but I mean, for me,
yeah.
being a short guy, I played football my whole life. And I played for the Buffalo Lightning, the pro indoor team there, and
Yeah.
every friggin' practice or every game I heard, look at this short guy, and it's like, it sucks to hear that kind of stuff. You have tough skin and you deal with it, but at the same time, it affects you to some degree. And when I wanted to get into, when I started thinking about getting into racing and running and triathlon and all that stuff, I'd see these guys and they, are toothpicks and they're, 6'5", and I'm like, oh my God, I have no shot at ever being good at this. And then, I see you at the local races, and when you say that, 2017, when you burnt yourself out doing 40 races, I mean, I was basically doing the same thing because I was just wanting, I saw this world of running and I'm like, I want to do everything all at once, so I saw you at a lot of these races and you still were killing it. I know you were burned out, but you were still really good. And I was like, wow, this girl is short and killing it. And then I'd see this Patrick Cutter guy. I'm like, well, this dude's jacked and he doesn't look like a runner. And I'm like, maybe there is a shot for me to like be decent at this. And so yeah, I definitely am not just blowing smoke. That's a real thing. So
Thank you. Yeah, I think all body types can be like fantastic. Like even in just like the Checkers Running Club, I can't tell you one girl who looks the same and they're all like fantastic.
And you know what I think a big thing, and this is kind of like to loop it all back around to like what we were talking about earlier, and really the point of this conversations that I have with these athletes is, I think the one common thread is the drive to compete, and that you can. I think something athletes in general have that I think people who don't play sports or have ever really pushed themselves have is that ability to dig deep, to go to that dark place. When you're 2.5 miles into a 5K and you are just sucking wind and you don't know where you're going to find that energy to get that, last half mile out, to go to that dark place, find that extra gear and dig deep. And there's such an inherent value to that. At least I think when you finish that race and you went to that place and you can be proud of what you accomplished, even if your goal was to break a half hour and you did it in 29:30. Just that feeling of setting a goal and grinding and pushing yourself to accomplish that. I think that is such a big thing just mentally, because it bleeds over to different aspects of life as well.
Oh yeah. I always say that like you can't be afraid to hurt.
Right?
Like
I say all the
yeah.
time, you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I can always tell the people who like when they're upset about like a race and they talk to me about it, I'm like, you're afraid to hurt. You're afraid to go to that place. Like you gotta, and that's what training's all about. Like that's why I'm very like pro have a plan. If you have a goal, and you want to reach a goal, you have to have a plan.
You just reverse engineer it. You know, you envision
trains you
yourself
that-
on that podium and then work backwards from there. How am I going to get there? Yep.
Yeah, it's like all the workouts I like mentioned, like the sprints and the VO2 and the lactate, they're very uncomfortable. But then when it gets to race time, you're like, I know what this feels like.
You know what,
This is
too?
not
I
attainable.
think this also, and you're exactly right. I think if you start off the day with a hard track workout or like some hard, lactate threshold workout or something like that, you just feel like some kind of like the beast was released from you, and then you could just focus on work the rest of the day. I feel, at least that's how I feel. If I have a really hard workout in the morning, I go to work like just calm. I'm like, let's do this. All right, I'm excited. If I don't get that workout in, I'm like, I'll giddy all day.
I hear you. Yeah, I'm very pro like morning workout running. I've always been like that. I think that it also allows me to like be able to like run as much as I do as I get up early, which has taken routine and time.
Mhm.
But yeah, otherwise, like sometimes after work, I'm sure you get this, like you just don't want to do it.
Well, you're just there's physical exhaustion and there's mental exhaustion, and after a tough day at work, it is hard to kind of, now I gotta like push myself to the brink mentally again, outside. But if you get up and you just don't even think about it, your alarm goes off, maybe not. Maybe you condition yourself to get up at the same time every day. It's just your eyeballs open up, it's feet on the ground, and we're out the door. You don't have time, but before you even know where you are, you're halfway done with your workout, and I love that. And I think there's just something so calming about being outside when it's dark out in the morning. I love that. I absolutely love that.
Oh yeah, for sure, definitely. Yeah, I will say that I you have to be motivated for like most like in order to like be able to get out there, even if it's before or after work, you have to be motivated. But it's also like stress relieving, and I totally agree with you when you say you go into work like calm. Like I just feel like a lot of anxiety is gone. It's definitely helped me work through a lot of anxiety I have, like just being able to like release some energy that's not going to be on my plate after work. So yeah, I definitely encourage anyone who hasn't started a routine of like doing some kind of activity before work
And
to start a routine.
even if you do just a half hour like yoga or just something,
just a half hour.
just something, just get up and do something, and it's going to make your day exponentially better. I really do believe that. So the other thing that I was going to say, ask you. So say someone wants to get into running and they've never run before. What advice would you offer them? What would you say? What's the first thing you do?
Sure. So like I've been running, like it's crazy for me to say this, but I've been running for over 20 years.
Weird to think about, right?
Like competitively. I started when I was like probably like 6, and now I'm like 28. So over 20 years. So what I would say if someone, and I will say this, I've met a lot of people through the local running scene in Buffalo who started running at 40 or like 50.
It's amazing.
And they're amazing.
I
I just think I love them so much. They're so incredible. I'll just say like, don't like, well, I'm once again pro plan. Definitely don't just go out and like do 5 miles and like hurt yourself. I always suggest go for time instead of mileage. So start out like with a 20-minute run jog, then, run for like how long you can, then walk until you get to 20 minutes. And then like increase maybe like 5 to 10% from there. Definitely run, walk, definitely have the proper foot gear. Make things digestible. Cause I know a lot of people get on trends. Like they're like, I'm on a running kick this week. And then they go too much and then it's unsustainable and they burn out.
It's a good point. It's a very good point.
Sustainable, digestible, small goals that won't hurt you.
I think another thing I might add on to that too is running. Like you mentioned, you're kind of, most of your workouts are alone. I'm a lone wolf. I'm like exclusively train alone. I mean, minus, me broadcasting my rides on Twitch every morning. But aside from that, I'm alone. But I think me and you are kind of maybe an outlier. I think a lot of the running community is very, very social, and running clubs.
Get a partner.
Yeah,
get a partner.
Yeah, get a partner. And
it's hard now.
That's exactly right. You don't want to run with a mask on. It sucks.
But yeah, I've been running with these 2 guys at like before Corona, the quarantine, we would meet each other at the local coffee shop at 5:30 every Tuesday and then get coffee after. We do 5 miles together, get coffee, or I would meet my girlfriend down at the canal side. We do 7 miles, but I totally agree with you. Find your people.
It's just, it makes the time go by quicker. It's not that I don't enjoy working out with people, is I have so much going on. I'm just, when I want to work out, it's just like, all right, I'm doing it. I got to go now.
Yeah.
That's the hard part for me with training with other people is I'm very impulsive. Like yesterday, I'm just like, I'm gonna go do a half marathon, so I'm out of here. But I think training with a partner, it's just cool to develop those relationships over the sport. Having, maybe you get a partner and you target a race. Our goal is to do a 5K in 3 months. So let's train together. Every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday workout, or just that support, holding you accountable. Like if you're meeting your buddy or your two guys at 5:30 in the morning, you don't want to let them down. Or even if it's just someone else, like you don't want to stand them up. They're getting up at 5:30 in the morning, or they're getting up at 5 to be there at 5:30 in the morning. You don't want to let them down. You don't want to be like they're standing there at Tim Hortons or wherever, just making them feel like they woke up for nothing, and just so I think that's a good part of it too. I know there's a lot of benefits to working out with others, but that's good advice, and with the plan, and just because I made the mistake too of coming out of the gates 100 miles. It's ease into it. Learn how to do it the right way, because if you learn how to do it the right way from the beginning, you're going to be able to do it a lot longer with less injury.
I totally agree with you. That's kind of how I didn't quit running. It's so funny. I don't think I was. I know some people might disagree, but I didn't. My mom definitely doesn't think that. My mom thinks I'm the best thing ever. But
whose mom doesn't? Come on.
I wasn't naturally talented. Like I had to work really hard. Like I almost quit my first day of cross country because I hated it. Like people had to loop back to pick me up because I was so slow. And I almost quit, but I didn't want to let my friend down, who was my best friend and said he got me to run cross country. I didn't want to make her mad at me.
Isn't that funny? You think about the butterfly flaps its wings and there's a hurricane in the Atlantic. Like think about if you just quit that day and then never got into running, where isn't it weird to think like that?
I've never been back, or
yeah, crazy.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's what drew me to do endurance sports. Is I love the idea of it's a grind every day of you're just checking. If you have a plan, check your day off and check your day off. And at some point, you're going to be able to turn around and quantitatively look at what you did, leading up to that point. And it's like, if I do X, Y, and Z, I'm going to get better. I mean, there's just no doubt about it, unless I don't see a reason why you would never get better. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, you're going to hit plateaus and you're going to face obstacles. But I mean, the grand scheme of things, if you follow a plan and you stick to it, and that's what I like. I'm very task oriented. I like waking up and knowing, all right, I got this today. I got this today. You know what I mean? But Kim, we are at an hour and 15 minutes. So that flew by.
Yeah. That did fly by. Thank you so much. I've never been interviewed on a podcast before, so that was really
first girl on the podcast, and it's your first thought is a new microphone, so there's a lot of firsts going on. It's great. Did we not cover anything in the show today that you wanted to go over?
Yeah, I'll just end it with one thing. I'm just reminding me when you said first girl. So I'm in this. There's a local podcast called the Negative Splits, and it's with my friend Bill. Yeah. Bill's it on, and I did my first mile of the year with him, and their podcast is a thing called Fastest Mile of the Week, and so I just started getting into it as my speed work for the week, and so I did my 5:01 last Saturday. I posted in our Facebook group, I'm like, did 5:01, trying to break 5, and a lot of people commented like, guys are being beat by a girl. I don't find offense to that. I don't find offense when people say I'm getting chicked or I'm getting smoked by a girl. I'm flattered. I'm like, that's right.
Good athlete's a good athlete. I mean, what the hell? Come on now. It doesn't matter. That's awesome. I mean, you work your ass off, so you deserve it. I love it.
Thanks. No, thank you so much. You are inspiration to me, because I would always see you. Honestly, I've done sprint triathlons, And I tell you, open water swimming is so hard. Biking fast is so hard. And like I could only do the run decent, but doing that all together is so hard.
I
So I
appreciate
like
that.
all the credit.
Iron
Like,
sharpens iron, right? That's why we all are in this community together. You know, you inspire me. I didn't know I inspire you, but that's cool. And you know, it's just a never-ending like loop. You know, it's a never-ending cycle of inspiration, and that's what I'm trying to build here. So that's all. I really appreciate you coming on, and I wish you the best of luck. You know, once you're once racing comes back on, I'm really excited to see what you're going to be able to accomplish, because obviously you are at the peak right now of what. I think you're scratching the surface. Can't wait to see your first 16 official 5K. You know, breaking that 17-minute barrier. It's gonna be awesome. I know
Thank
you can.
you.
Yeah. So what we'll do in the show notes afterwards is, if you can just shoot me those links, I'll put them in there. I'll put Kim's social media accounts on here as well, so you can check her out on social media and follow her journey. Kim's direct quote. I quote directly.
Oh, man.
I love
Oh.
social media, she told me today. So
I
she's
do.
she's a fun person to watch. So, or follow.
I do.
Well, thanks again, Kim. I really appreciate it. And next time we're in Buffalo, or next time I'm in Buffalo and I'm allowed in New York, maybe we'll find a 5K and you can whoop my ass. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
All right. Well, good talking to you, and thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you on the next one.
All right. Thank you.